right. So as I said, my name is Kristy. I'm a presenter and an advisor on behalf of Business Station for the Digital Solutions Commonwealth program. Today we're going to go through digital marketing and talking about the basics of digital marketing and what you can do to improve your digital presence. Now, keep in mind, there are a lot of individual workshops on some of the topics that we're going to touch on today. So we'll go over things at a higher level. And then if you want more in-depth information, you can certainly source that by way of webinars and workshops that we run and some of our specialist advisors run, as well as through one-on-one mentoring through the Digital Solutions program. So the session is very much designed to be interactive. So either hop on and unmute yourself and have a chat with me at any time. You can use the reactions if you want to put your hand up, smile, do any thumbs down, anything else like that. And also keep in mind, you've got the chat functionality, so you can use that at any time to type in questions, but please stop me so that I can relate what I'm saying specifically to you. All right, so just in terms of what we're actually going to go through today, well, first of all, we're going to talk about some of the key components of online marketing and some must-dos for each area of online marketing. So we're going to talk about websites. We're going to talk about your online business listings. We will also touch on SEO, which is search engine optimization, as well as search engine marketing. We're going to go through a bit of social media and a bit of email marketing as well. But as I said, keep in mind, this is very much at a higher level in terms of, I'll give you a few bits and pieces of information. However, you can seek out a lot more in-depth information and guidance through the program as well. All right, now we've got an extra person on the line now, which is fantastic. So we've got someone else joined, but if we haven't really missed much from the beginning, but yeah, in the case that you're worried about that, you'll get that recording sent through to you as well. All right, so in terms of online marketing benefits, who here, and just by way of either a reaction or a quick comment or even just a thumbs up, but who here is involved in online marketing at the moment, has a website, is doing something in an online space?
I am.
Excellent.
Me.
Great, thank you. Good. So if you are, a lot of this might already start to make sense. If you're not, it's really important to know some of this stuff before you go into the online world. But a lot of the online marketing benefits come with the fact that consumers use the internet to search and find all different kinds of businesses and actively seek out information through the web. So whether you are a bricks and mortar business or you have an actual online business, people will be looking online for your information. So that could be as simple as your contact details. It could be what products and services you might have available. And it could also be how they can purchase your products and services. And they might want to do that at a time that suits them. So, you know, middle of the night, for example, people are there going, all right, I can't sleep. I'm going to get on and do this, make this booking, purchase this, this product. So that's a huge benefit. That 24/7 side of things is obviously the major benefit in online marketing, but also your global reach. You can reach people all over the world that you might not otherwise be able to reach. It is very low cost or cost effective, and it can be accessible to any size budget. So again, some of the elements that we go through today might have a cost associated with them, but most of them, the online marketing activities that we'll go through, you can very much do yourself. It's just a matter of time versus cost a lot of the time. Now, also the results online are measurable. So your results are immediately available, which is a major benefit in comparison to traditional marketing. But anything you do can be measured. Obviously, you have to set up the mechanism in which to measure things properly as you're starting out, but everything can be measured. Also, you can accurately reach your target market. So going back to who your target market is, you do have to know that from a marketing perspective. Who is it that represents your target market? Once you know that information, you'll know exactly how to speak to them, where to speak to them, and you can be extremely targeted. And the last element of online marketing, and that the really huge benefit, is that you can build lasting relationships with your customers. So it's not just a one-off transaction anymore. You can get them to follow you on social media. They will leave reviews. You can engage with them. So you'll have a longer term relationship than you would otherwise. So that is a really huge benefit. In terms of the major element of your online marketing, it's obviously your website. Your website is where the everything you do online will lead back to. So it is at the core of your online marketing. You have to keep in mind it's only part of your strategy. So potential customers have to find your website. You also have to actively engage with your current and future customers online as well. So we'll talk more about being found soon, but in terms of your website itself, this is really a place where customers can find out about your products and services. As I mentioned before, they should be able to make purchases, even if you've got a bricks and mortar premises. And that might be closed in terms of, the time of day, or it could be that you're offering things online as well as offline. So think about your website as your 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week salesperson, your number one salesperson. So if you think about it like that, do you think that your website is actually doing your business justice? So is it selling your product and service as it should? And what I find with small businesses is that a lot of the time people will build a website because they know they have to have one, and not give it much attention, particularly if your core focus of your business is not online as such, it's an offline business model. Then you can sort of have that sort of set and forget approach to it. But I would obviously highly recommend that it is not something that you set and forget. It has to do your business justice. So some key web design elements that I think you need to consider, first of all, are the purpose. What is the purpose of your website? What is it there to do? Is it there for people to obtain information about you, such as your location or just your contact number? Or is it there for people to make purchases and transact in some kind of way? So you really have to cater that website to the needs of who's actually using it and what the purpose is. What are they using it for? In terms of communication, people have to get information quickly and easily. So you have to remove as many barriers to that purchase process as you can, and allow people to get enough information so that they're not having to contact you and wait for a response, or send you an email, or wait till you open and give you a call. So they have to get enough information. They have to be able to get it quickly and easily. Now, I find that this can also be a bit of a stumbling block or a bit of a barrier in terms of the sales process, only because as small businesses become so familiar with our website that you know how it works, you know where to find everything. So you don't take that step back and look at it from a brand new, fresh sort of set of eyes. So thinking about that, is the information available quickly and easily for someone that doesn't have any prior knowledge to your business at all? Images and the overall look. So your images, fonts, colors, those kind of things are absolutely crucial. Again, this all has to speak to your target market. So your images have to position your brand correctly. They have to be professional and true to your product, of course. Some small businesses don't have a photographer or don't get their own images, so they sort of go into a lot of stock images. Now, stock images have their place, and it's fantastic to be able to use them if they're correct for your business, but you have to be really careful that they are true to your product and who you are. The fonts have to be easy to read. The font size has to be large enough so that it can be read easily. The colors, the fonts sitting on different colored backgrounds has to work as well and be easy on the eye. Your colors should be complementary to your brand and should suit your target market as well. So again, it comes back to knowing exactly who your specific target market is, and therefore what they like to see from a color perspective, from an overall design, also from navigation. So how easy is it to take action and move around? And again, for your target market, if your target market isn't overly tech savvy, then a very simple navigation, an F pattern navigation. So your top to bottom, left to right is going to work best. Then you've got your load time. Load time is absolutely crucial for the user because nobody likes to go to a website where we're sitting there waiting for pages to load. Obviously, we're increasingly impatient as consumers and as website users. So this is really important, but keep in mind, it's really important for SEO as well, which is search engine optimization. So how well your website actually ranks in Google searches. We'll talk a bit more about that when we get to the SEO side of things as well. Now, mobile friendly or responsive is the last element that I've got there in terms of design. Now, this is really important, again, for SEO, but we'll talk about that later, but for the user. So have a look on the screen there, and the website that you see there is obviously a responsive site. So no matter what size or shape device the user has a look at this particular website on, it adapts its shape so that it appears correctly for them. So what you don't want to have is a mobile device where you've got a website and someone's having to scroll across the page because it's not really a true sort of mobile view that they're getting. So that's absolutely crucial as well, that you've really got that mobile friendly element to it, and a responsive site is the best way to do that. And that means that, like I said, it will just change its shape no matter what device you're on. Now, working with web developers, if you don't have your own website yet, you might be looking to build one. Now, some small businesses will build them themselves through platforms like Wix and WordPress and Weebly. There's tons of different content management systems that you can use that have templates for design so that it makes it nice and easy for you. But if you choose to work with a web developer, cost can really vary. So it will vary depending on a number of different factors, mostly functionality. So if you are working with a web developer, think about the specific functionality that you need. Have a look at what past projects they've done, and really understand their level of expertise for the specific technical side of things or functionality that you need. Once you get into working with them, that process has to be really transparent. So you have to know exactly what the cost is, what you're getting for that cost, how many pages on your website, how many revisions, etc. You really need to engage with them personally. Now, I would say face-to-face if you can. What we're doing now is somewhat face-to-face, so they don't have to be located down the road or anything like that, but you have to have some communication with them, even if it's just to sit and talk through some examples of projects that you've liked or websites that you particularly like and the different functionality behind them, and get them to truly understand your business. If they can understand your business, your target market, and your customers and how they interact, the purpose of your site, they're going to build it a lot better. So keep that in mind. And I would always recommend that it's built in a content management system, which gives you access to the back end to edit, update, and change a range of different things. So keep that in mind. That content management system is absolutely crucial. Does that make sense? Yeah, excellent. Has anyone got any questions so far? No questions. Good. All right, so in terms of web developers, like I said, make sure you do your homework, get some quotes from a few different developers as well. All right, quality content is absolutely crucial. Now, I touched on this in terms of having enough information that's easily digested by your customers and that's found easily, but quality content is really important on your website for both SEO, search engine optimization, and making sure that your website ranks well as conversion. So getting people to actually take action, purchase something, book something, or interact with your website. So the first element of your content is, and from an SEO perspective, so how well your website is ranked, is to do thorough topic and keyword research. So this is something that a lot of the small business clients I work with, they don't do their research from a keyword perspective until they've already built a site, and then they're wondering why it's not ranking very well. So keyword research is a process of understanding what search volumes there are on certain terms. So let's say, for example, you have a website that sells dog treats, just as an example, and you think that people search dog treats, and that's the key term that they search. So you focus all of your efforts on ranking amazingly well for dog treats, and you want to be top of the page for that term. What you need to understand is that's just your opinion. How many monthly searches are there actually on that key term? So you can use some tools to actually do that research. So find out, okay, dog treats, there might only be 200 searches per month on that particular term, but the tools that you'll use will give you alternatives. So they might say no dog treats, but try dog treats Perth, or try dog food instead of dog treats. So there will always be suggestions and alternatives. So that keyword research is a matter of you brainstorming and thinking, all right, what are all the different things people might search to get to my business? Also have a look at in your Google Analytics, you can have a look at what people actually do search to get to your business and how they're finding you. But it has to be a combination of both. Then you use a tool to back up those search volumes so that you truly understand what the search volume is on each of the terms. Now, once you've done your keyword research, you have to make sure that your content talks again to your target audience, but use the keywords that are relevant to your business. That content would have to be original, and it should be original on each page as well. So don't repeat blocks of information. If you're kind of saying the same thing, or repeating information to sort of reestablish the knowledge from the user, then that's okay, but make sure that it's written in an original way on each page, if that makes sense. Now, it should be succinct and to the point. There shouldn't be too much waffle going on. Obviously, you have to let your brand personality come into it. So that's absolutely fine. But you think about a user of a website, we don't read each page from top to bottom and every single word in it. You use headlines and bullet points and things like that to capture the attention of people, so their eyes will be drawn to those relevant sections. Now, headlines are really important for SEO as well as the user. So the size of the headline and how that's coded will basically tell Google how important the information on a page is, but it also tells the user. So if we've got the main headline, we sort of think that's what the entire page is about. And then if there's sub-headlines, it's less important information. So keep that in mind. Like I said, bullet points are really important as well. Pay attention to the size of your sentences. So if you can break them up by way of bullet points and headlines and break the content up like that, it'll be a lot more digestible for the user, a lot easier for them to read, and they'll be drawn to the relevant information and not have to really search for it. Now, hyperlinking is also really important. Hyperlinking page to page is absolutely crucial. So thinking about if your homepage starts to talk about your range of dog treats, and it could be 3 different types of dog treats, as you mentioned the 3 different types, you would link to the relevant page on your website. Now, that's great for the user, because as a user, we're reading some information. You tell us you've got, these amazing dog treats. We want to just go straight there. We don't want to have to go up to the top menu and then try and find that page that you're talking about. So the easier you can make it for the user, the better it is for that overall customer experience. But Google also likes it as well. So it's great. And I use Google as an example. Obviously, there are other search engines, but Google is sort of the predominant one. So keep that in mind. Whatever is going to be good for the user is also going to do well from an SEO perspective. Now, the last thing with your content is just make sure that you proofread it. There are so many websites that I come across that have grammatical and also spelling errors. It doesn't do you any favors from an SEO perspective. So if, search bots are crawling your site and finding words that aren't spelt right, then you're not going to rank for those terms and that kind of thing. So there's that, but really from a professionalism perspective, it's really important that you have all of your spelling and grammar correct. All right, functionality and accessibility. We've spoken a little bit about some of these concepts because when we talk about design and usability, it directly links to the functionality, which links to sort of SEO. So you'll see some common themes that tied together a little bit here. Now, talking about functionality and accessibility, first of all, in headlines, I mentioned headlines and headings are really important to tell the user what the content's about. They're also very important that you keep them consistent across all pages. So if you've got a main, a large, what we call a H1 heading across the top of all of your pages, or some of your pages, make sure that goes across all. The H2 are the smaller headings, and so on and so forth. So make sure that it's consistent and that each page has the same sort of style. That will just make it easy for the user, because the user is going to various pages in your site and then going, all right, well, I've worked out how to use that last page. So now automatically they'll know how to use the next. And when I say use, it's really consuming the content of it. So if it's taking me 2 seconds or even 0.5 of a second to go, that's the main heading, that's the subheading, there's 3 different bits of information on this page. my brain's done the work. So next time I go to a page that's got a similar structure, I'll automatically know how to use it, if that makes sense. Now, there is a bit of a rule, a 3 clicks or less rule. So make sure that people can get to all internal pages of your site in 3 clicks or less. So think about, your headings, your subheadings, how buried are some of your pages? Make sure that they're not buried. Make sure that 3 clicks or less and people can get to them. Your home link is really important. You don't need a home button on your page. A lot of people are completely removing them, and the majority of sites and all sites that I'm sort of involved with don't have them either. It's not necessary. Your logo, there's sort of an unwritten rule that your logo should take people to the home page. So keep that in mind. It gives you extra space in your menu bar as well that you might need for other important menu items, but just make sure that you do have your logo linked to the functionality of going home as well, because people do expect it. Your call to actions should be really obvious as well. Now, your call to actions should be clear. This is what you want someone to do. Do you want them to inquire? Do you want them to book? Do you want them to buy? Do you want them to contact you? So what do you want them to do? Make sure that they are repeated on all pages. So it's very easy when people are ready to take that action, that button is there and it's clear for them to do it. But make sure that it's also what you want them to do as well, because people will very much follow what they're being told to do, and a button is a really good symbol to take action in that way. So make sure that that's not confusing as well, so that people don't have 2 different options and what are they going to do. So that side of things is really important. Now, the navigation I touched on when we were talking about the technical side of things. That traditional navigation is what's recommended, which is that F pattern, that left to right and top to bottom. But even if you have a different style of navigation on your website, make sure it's consistent, because that consistent navigation is absolutely crucial. People want to see the same thing across your site, because again, we then feel that the site it's all brought together, it's professional. If you start changing the menus and the structures on different sites, it can be a bit confusing to get back to where you were. So consistency is really important there. All right. So lastly, on the technical side of things, technology, of course. So obviously being responsive is really important. Fully responsive is the way that it needs to go. But the experts say that you should look at your website and what it looks like on mobile as a first point of contact, as opposed to desktop first. So you'll be able to see, if you've got Google Analytics set up on your site at the moment, you'll be able to see what percentage of people come to your site from a mobile device versus a desktop, but you might find that the majority is mobile. So have a look at what it looks like on mobile first, and then worry about what it looks like on desktop later. So being fully responsive will certainly address that. Being built with a content management system is really important. A content management system will continually update technology so that it meets the changing standards of different devices or different desktops and browsers and that kind of thing. So that content management system will continually update. So if you are having a developer build their own content management system, you have to rely on them providing continual updates, which isn't as realistic. Now, online bookability or that call to action, being able to transact online, is really, really important as well, because that's what people want to do. We want that convenience of taking some kind of action where and when it suits us. Now, the last element to the technological side of things is just hosting. So making sure that you've got reliable hosting. So that means that whoever's hosting your website is consistent, so they're not up and down. Time-wise, it doesn't take too long to load and that kind of thing. So make sure that that hosting is somewhere. If you pay a little bit more, that's absolutely fine to get that consistency. You definitely don't want a site that is down more often than it's up, obviously. All right, so for those that are still online, we're going to do a little activity now where you review your own website, considering a few factors. So just take a few minutes to pull up your website, If you have two screens, that's great. But if not, you could do it on a device, because after all, the experts say to design websites for mobile first. So maybe you've got your phone handy. And have a notepad by your side as well. So any items that you look at that need work, you can make a note of for later. But yeah, have a look and start going through some of the elements that we've spoken about. So your technological aspects, have a look at, first of all, if you're looking at it on a device, is it responsive? So is it coming up all right on your device? Have a look at your headings and that consistency as you go through different pages as well. Have a look at your content. Is it easy to read? Now, as I said, you get quite familiar with your own website, so you might find that you're happy with the content, but I think a really good activity in terms of reviewing your website is to get someone that you don't actually know or that isn't familiar with your site to take a couple of actions. So you might say to them, go on and book something or buy something from me or find out my address even, and watch them do it. As you watch them do it, I think you'll really find if there's any stumbling blocks. So you can just stand quietly behind them and let them have a go. I think that's a really interesting activity to do as well. Also have a look at, like I said, that design, have a look at it on desktop versus your device as well. So I'm going to just give you a couple of minutes to have a bit of a look at that. And as you go, if you've got any questions with how your site looks, or if anyone wants me to have a look at their site, please let me know. Are you guys able to see my screen all right?
Can now.
Have you not been able to see it?
I've just seen you.
Oh,
and you've just come up now.
Oh, that's so strange. I just, yeah, I don't know why that is. It just flipped for me and something changed. So that's very strange. Sorry about that.
That's okay.
So while we're going through, just for the things that we've missed, we'll talk a little bit about those as you're looking at your website. So obviously the content is one thing I mentioned, your functionality and accessibility. So that consistency of headings, the 3 clicks or less rule, your home link, your call to actions and your navigation. Your technology being responsive, being built in a content management system, having some buy now or book now or transactional sort of ability, and the hosting as well. And yeah, and those other elements that I had a look at. So that's sort of a bit of a run through. I don't know when my screen changed or when you lost it, but we'll absolutely get the slides to you anyway. But if you guys are happy, we're going to move on. So the next thing we're going to look at is branding on your website. So keep that in mind as we're going. If you've still got your website up, that's great. Having a look at your branding, what's your message like? Is your brand message clear? Is there consistency? So is your brand being represented consistently throughout the site? So different pages on your site, different messages on your site, making sure that it's all tied in together and the same. In terms of consistency, one thing I find really interesting is if you've got someone to write different pieces of your site. So you might have had someone write a certain part, you've written something else, someone else has written something else, and you lose a bit of that brand voice. So consistency in that sense is really important. Your logo is really important. So is your logo high quality? Is it predominantly placed on each page? And keep in mind, obviously that's from a branding perspective, but as we said before, your logo should absolutely be your home link as well. Imagery, making sure that your imagery represents your brand accurately. Like I said, some people use stock images, which is fine as long as it does represent your brand. In terms of your target market, making sure that you've spent the money on imagery to represent your target market or what they would like to see. Your color scheme is really important. So having a solid color scheme, making sure that that color scheme connects with your brand. Also your taglines. Are you using powerful taglines, for example, and making sure that those taglines engage your user and relate to what they sort of need and want from your business or your site? And then the calls to actions, which we've touched on, but make sure that they're predominantly placed on your homepage and also on your sub pages as well. Now, when we talk about fonts, we talk about your in terms of the overall text on your site. We talk about headlines, obviously fonts and the size. So with your headlines, making sure that they're consistent in size and you've got the sizing right. And also your font, making sure that they're readable and appropriate to your target market. And then that size, the size of your headline, the size of your paragraph is really important, and making sure that the text is all legible, but also making sure that there's not big blocks of text or too much text, I think is the key thing. Now, in terms of your website layout, your layout has to meet the current standards, which is about 960 pixels wide, and that's your active page area. So you'll have a background either side of that as well. The layout should be modern and clean. It should be easy to read and navigate. It should look fresh. A lot of the content management systems that you use will have templates if you want to do it that way, or you can get the layout sort of built for you with a developer. The organization is crucial, and that's in terms of your content. So make sure that your content and the sections that your content is in is well organized within your layout. Your homepage should feature your most important content, and users should get a real sense of who you are just by looking at the homepage. Your sub pages should have consistent layouts again, and easy to find pages that are deeper in your site and no more than those 3 clicks. Your footer, you should have your contact information. There should be repetition of your main navigation menu in the footer as well. And then from a navigational perspective, it should be easy to find your main landing pages and your sub pages. So when you think about that menu navigation at the top, when you're on any given page of your site, you should be able to go back up there and find the relevant pages. All right, so there should be some interactive elements on your website as well. So buttons, first of all, do you utilize buttons to help guide users throughout your site? Because a button sends a really clear message, and it really is a call to action, which directs the user to take action that you want them to. Now, anything clickable or any items that are clickable, including images, links, or buttons, should be made obvious to the user that they can click them. Now, generally speaking, if you've got a term that's clickable or a word that's clickable, it should be underlined. That's kind of another one of those unwritten rules where people, if they see something either a different color or underline, it's an indicator to go on there and actually give it a click. So keep in mind those kind of things. And then social icons, absolutely make sure that you've got that interaction with your social media, either in your header or your footer or wherever it's most important to you, but make sure that people are getting over there to your socials so that you can build that relationship and continue that relationship as well. All right, so that's all web design, layout, and what your 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week salesperson should look like. Now we're going to start talking about how your website ranks. I've said the term SEO a couple of times, but for those people that don't know what it is, it stands for search engine optimization. So in very simple terms, it's really the process of improving your site to increase its visibility for relevant searches. So webbots will crawl your website to understand what your site's about. They then index all of the pages in their database and list your website's pages on the relevant page of results. So obviously your aim is always going to be onto the first page of results, which is going to increase targeted visitation to your website. But you need to do your keyword research. So you need to know what people are searching, and then that's where you want to be first or on the first page. So before you do any SEO or make any changes to your website, make sure that you know what people are actually searching to get to your site. Now, a couple of tools for that. First of all, the Google Keyword Planner tool. Now, this is available in Google AdWords. That's a really good tool which will tell you search volumes per month, and it's average search volumes per month, obviously. There's another one called Uber Suggest, which is a Chrome extension. So you install that on Google Chrome, and then as you're searching terms, it'll tell you average results. And then the third one, and probably the most reliable information, is from Keywords Everywhere. Now, that's a really good one. So essentially, like I said, keyword research, you'll do a bit of a brainstorm on what you think people are searching to get to your website. And the next step is for you to prove that, essentially, by using these tools. And then the third step is to improve your rankings for each of those search terms, so that in search engines like Google, you appear on that first page, which would be the ultimate goal. Now, keep in mind with SEO, good SEO is a culmination of hundreds of different tactical efforts. It's said that there's more than 200. It does change and evolve. So things that you might have done in the past that resulted in top rankings and even, a few years ago might not be as significant today. So it's really important to continually be onto your SEO and understand what algorithm changes there may have been. Now, SEO does take a lot of time. I would say allow a couple of weeks to a month before you start to see any results. And because it's constantly changing, you need to keep, like I said, on top of latest algorithms, but also on top of what you're doing. So SEO really has two elements. It has on-page SEO and off-page SEO. So the two different sides. I'm going to explain in detail what each of them are now. So first of all, on-page SEO. On-page SEO is essentially everything that happens on your website that affects the ranking. So things like readable URLs, which I will show you shortly, internal links, so that page-to-page linking to relevant content. So as I mentioned in the example before, your homepage talks about your product range, and then as you're talking about them in your homepage, you're linking to those specific pages as and when you talk about them. 301 redirects. Now that's a redirection informing a search engine that a URL that used to live in a certain location has now moved to a new location. So if people do happen to type in the old URL, they don't get an error message. They get, it's like a postal redirection. They get redirected straight through to the new page. Your page load time is really important, which we did touch on. So your image sizes can impact that. You can use a great Google developer tool, which will tell you, it's a speed test tool, which will tell you what the page load times are and if there's any issues. Now, there's also page title tags, there's meta description, alt tags, and heading tags. So they start to get a little bit more technical. So I'm going to expand on them and give you a little bit more detail there. First of all, readable URLs I mentioned. So this is something that you would definitely consider. So see here, you've got businessstation.com.au/training. That would suggest that that page was about training, whereas you might have a content management system. As you create a new page, it just codes it. So page 53 in this case. So that is bad. This one is good. So again, use your keyword research. If the term that you're trying to rank for is training Perth or Perth training, that's what the URL would say as opposed to just training. So absolutely use that, the URL, the name of your URL, correctly from an SEO perspective. Your internal links and your 301 redirects are what you see here. So on the left-hand side, you've got your internal links. Now you can see on this page that the writing is blue, and then when you get down to terms like self-contained apartments, fully equipped function rooms, they are a different color. Now they are actually internal links. So they're obvious to the user that they are an internal link because they're a different color. And as you hover over them in the live site, you would be able to click them and get to that relevant page. My opinion here is that they could have had more. They could have had 1 and 2 bedroom guest rooms, suites, and self-contained apartments. So there's no reason that all of that couldn't link to the relevant terms. On the other side of the page here, you see 301 redirects, and that is very similar to a postal redirection where you say a page that used to live here now lives here, and that avoids people getting those 404 errors where you've accidentally sent them to the wrong page or to a page that's not live anymore or has been removed. Your title tags. Now, each of the pages on your website should have its own unique title tag. Now, that should include the main keywords for that page. So a title tag is what you see here in red. So it's not the headline that's displayed on the actual page itself. This is something that's only visible in code view. So I'll say that it'll be coded in the HTML code behind the scenes. Now, Google and other search engines will use it to display as the main title in search results, like you can see here. So in this example, I've searched for Aspas in Perth, and what you can see here comes up on my screen. So the optimal length of a title tag is about 60 characters, which is long enough to display a good title without it getting cut off. It definitely don't use stop words like the, in, is, and those kind of things. They don't do you any value. There's no value to you whatsoever. The preferred format is to put your primary keywords first and then any other keywords. So aside from being a really critical factor for your Google, the Google web bots that crawl and determine how well your page is going to rank, it really can heavily influence users, because if you've got an appealing page title, then that page is more likely to get clicked. So let's say there's 100 different results come up, you want people to click your page, obviously. So you have to make sure it makes sense, because your ultimate goal really is to get people to click through to your website. Now, the next part to that is your meta description. So that's the bit underneath that you can see in the red box. Now, again, it's not visible on any part of your site. It's only in the HTML code. And this is this little description that's found under your title tag. It doesn't actually affect your search ranking, what's written in here, but if it's well written, it'll encourage people to click through to your site, which obviously gets you traffic to your site. Now, a really important thing to note is that if you don't enter a meta description for your pages, Google will do it for you. And the way Google does it is just takes a small sample from the text of your pages. Sometimes they're cut off, sometimes they're not relevant to your keywords. So make sure that you take control of that. It's only 160 characters, and that's all you should use to make sure it doesn't get cut off. Definitely don't use the same meta description for every page of your website. The description for each page should be unique. The content on each page will be unique. Therefore, the meta description should be unique as well. So keep that in mind. That's really important. Now, the other two elements we've got here are alt tags and heading tags. Alt tags on the left, they're tags that are used for images. So they're HTML tags that you can use to describe what an image is. So you've got to remember that a search engine can't see an image. So without a description, they don't have any idea what it is or if it's relevant. Whereas if they can find your image because it's correctly labeled, obviously it helps with the SEO on that particular page, but your images could appear in a Google Images search as well. So that's another benefit. But definitely include local keywords of the title of the page with the keywords that you're trying to rank for in that sense as well. Now, the heading tags, we've spoken about the heading tags a couple of times. Now, they are really important for SEO because they help both the reader of your content, but also the Google web bots to determine what the content is on your page and how important it is. So readers will glance over a page, and so these headings will make their eyes or draw their eyes to specific topics. Similarly, search engines use the heading tags as indicators of context. So what's on the page and how does it relate to what the user is actually searching for? Now, heading tags all carry different weights. So as you can see in the image here, it is weighted by order of number. So an H1 is the most important, which is generally the page heading, so what the entire page is about. And then subsequent sizes, so an H2, an H3, and H4 is what the particular section or paragraph is about. So it's that heading for those sections. So keep that in mind. Absolutely. You would definitely have on your website different size headings anyway. So it's just a matter of, in your code, making sure that they're labeled properly with an H1, H2, H3, etc. sort of tag. So I came across a website the other day and we were having a look at the code behind the scenes, and I could see that the heading on each of their pages was actually an H2 tag. So they had just totally not used an H1 at all. So an oversight in that sense has led to a missed opportunity. So it's a very technical and minor aspect that has quite a bit of importance. All right, so that is on-page SEO. Now that is everything that happens on your website that affects how you rank. Now we're going to talk about off-page SEO, or also known as off-site SEO. Now this refers to any actions that are taken outside of your own website that directly link back to your website or impact your rankings within search engines and their results pages. So off-page optimization will be the majority of your SEO strategy, because it will really help build that credibility of your website. You want your website to rank above others that have a similar message. So to be able to achieve that, you have to build its authority. Now, there's a few ways that you can do that. Link building is a really key element here. Now, link building is the process of getting external pages, whatever they might be, we'll talk about that, but to link to any page, to a specific page of your website, I should say. Now, building links is complicated. It can be time consuming. Not all links are created equal either. So a link from an authoritative website will make a much greater impact on your SEO than a link from a newly built or a lower quality website. Basically, Google web bots, again, will count all of the links that come into your website. They'll give more quality, give weight to more quality links and rank accordingly. So if your site had 100 poor quality links and your competitor had, say, 15 good quality links, then the chances are that your competitor will rank higher than you. So keep that in mind. Now, Google has become very good at spotting a scam in this sense. And there you will actually get penalized for trying to do any scams now. And what I'm talking about here is, in the past, you used to be able to and this is probably 5 years ago or more, you used to be able to buy bulk links from whoever was sort of on selling them and get all of these random websites to link back to your site. So you would have hundreds, if not thousands, of links back to your site. But Google will now penalize you for trying to do anything dodgy like that. So it should be a good quality link that comes from a trusted and a reputable site, or a site that's related to your type of business. Generally speaking, a good quality link would be difficult to come by, and you'd have to have some kind of human intervention. So you air that conversation, hi, we work together, or I stock your products. I'd love to be linked on your stockist page of your website, that kind of human intervention. Generally speaking, it would be on a page that has content related to the content it's being linked to. So if you're talking about a particular product, you're linking from that product supplier to your page, for example. Generally speaking, a good quality link will add value to the reader and be likely to be clicked by them as well. So keep that in mind. Now, if you're wondering how to get good backlinks, there's a few different ways. You can earn them. Which is called or earning backlinks or organic backlinks. They are SEO gold, and it is the very best way. It's the very best way to get them is through quality content. So an organic backlink happens when a user, and this might be a contact of yours or someone new, but they're so impressed by your content that they either link to it from their site, or they share it. So they obviously make that decision if the content that they're reading is relevant to them. It has to be fairly unique, I would imagine, or useful or thought-provoking or even educational. So if you're writing blogs or anything like that, make sure that your content is exceptional, and you'll really increase the chance of someone linking to it. Staying active on social media and adding to your blog posts regularly, and then publishing those articles and cross-promoting them on social will really help that. Make sure that they're engaging, fresh, and obviously they have to be shareable. Now, you can also build backlinks. Networking and relationship building is a good way to build backlinks. You need a plan of action there. Now, some suggestions that I would offer are making sure that you contact other website owners and ask for a link to your content if there's a relevance to your businesses. if you guys work together, like I just suggested. Writing a guest post for another blog is another good way to get a link back to your website, but make sure that you check if anybody has written about your business as well. So you might set up something like a Google alert where you put in your business name, so your brand, and that way you can get a report on any mentions of your business if they're unlinked. So if someone's written a blog, for example, that incorporates your product or services, so your business name, but they haven't linked to you, I would absolutely contact them and ask for a link to be added. Or you might also find that a link is broken, so you might ask them to update that and give you a working link. So that's really important. Creating backlinks is also important. Adding your website to business directories and niche websites that might be relevant to your business is a good strategy as well. Have a look at all of the local directories. That kind of thing is really important. Also industry directories. There might be memberships that you have that you could add your website to those listings. Lastly, I would recommend just to have a look at your competitors. So have a look at literally Google their business names and see what websites they come up for. If those websites are relevant to your business, you might want to click through and see if there is a backlink to your competitor's webpage, then maybe pursue the same opportunity. There is also non-link related off-page SEO. So obviously earning these links from external websites is the most commonly practiced off-page SEO. But anything that happens outside of your business or your website and helps to improve your search ranking should be considered off-page SEO. So social media marketing and all the activity around there, any guest blogging, like I said, if it's unlinked, ask for a link, or any other brand mentions as well. And obviously influencer marketing helps here as well, where there is a lot of brand mentioning, but it might not necessarily be linked as such, but always pursue that link opportunity if you can. From a cost perspective, off-page SEO will make up the majority of your strategy, as well as being a time perspective. A lot of it and everything I've mentioned here today, you can absolutely do yourself. But where you start to pay for SEO is where they'll be writing blog articles for you. They'll be actively pursuing opportunities to have those blogs featured on different sites and that kind of thing. So keep that in mind. Now, I also touched on some business listings that will offer you a link. So that's a great opportunity there. But there are some essential online business listings. Obviously, Google My Business is absolutely crucial. So that should be your number one, where you have information about your business and obviously your website, images, and the ability for people to review you. And you should be actively getting reviews and answering reviews. But think about other review sites that are relevant to your business. So it could be Yelp. Obviously, you've got Facebook reviews, but there could be TripAdvisor. It could be absolutely any of the review sites that might be relevant to your business or your industry. Also, business directories like Yellow Pages, TrueLocal, and Yelp, they offer a really good opportunity. And I would say that they're definitely the top three on here. Now, it's really important with your business directories that you have consistent name, address, and phone number. So have that consistent. It really improves your local SEO. And the best business directories that I've mentioned are really Yellow Pages, TrueLocal, and Yelp, but there's a range of them. But a critical local ranking factor is that you have your name, address, and phone number consistent. Don't do directory listings or local SEO without a physical address, because it does put you at a disadvantage. Local listings is a really important part in making your business more visible in local search. So an address is generally required to do that. Now, don't forget there's other Australian business directories. It's not just for boosting local rankings either. From an SEO perspective, sometimes you will get referral traffic from people clicking through or getting your details and perhaps giving you a call as well. So keep in mind those business directories. And the last point there is social media. So make sure that you've got or you're listed and you've got an account on all social media platforms that are relevant to your target market. So we'll expand a little bit more on social media in just a second. All right, so remarketing is another really good online business opportunity. I'm not going to go into detail on pay per click advertising as such, which is things like your Google AdWords. But Google remarketing is pay-per-click. It's very cost-effective, immediate, it's very flexible, and obviously you can track what happens across all pay-per-click. But in particular, remarketing, I'll explain this term and have a look at the image on your screen. So basically, you've got a prospect that's come to your website. They may have come through a brochure. They could have seen you absolutely anywhere, come from your social media, another website. However they've come to you, they've landed on your site. Once they're there, they're tracked through cookies. They then leave and go on to a range of other sites. Now, they could get interrupted halfway through their process. They could be researching multiple different businesses that are similar to yours, but your ad will then start to display on popular sites or other sites that they might browse that have Google advertising space on them. Now, you don't pay for that advertising until they actually click your ad, and at that point, they go straight back to your site. Now, because they're already familiar with the business, they've been onto your website, the chances of them, when they click, of actually taking action is quite high. So there's a good chance that they're actually going to transact or do something. So it's a very effective, cost-effective form of marketing online. So done correctly, it will really increase your brand awareness as well as influencing conversions and really stay at that low cost. So you're reinforcing your brand to people that have already visited your website, essentially. So you will most definitely have been a recipient of some kind of remarketing, particularly Google remarketing. You can do a similar thing with the Facebook pixel as well, where people come to your site and then later you can advertise to them on Facebook based on them having been onto your website. So they're both really good opportunities. And as a basic, if you were doing no other online pay-per-click advertising, I would absolutely consider remarketing as a very first step. So keep that in mind. There is a bit of setup and a bit of technical aspect required, but like I said, anything that we're going through today, the purpose is to give you an overarching sort of understanding of it all, and then you can seek out further information and specific technical data on how to get this set up for your business. All right, so social media. Obviously, social media has made a huge impact on small business. Consumers engage with social networking sites to research all kinds of information, to make informed decisions about different products and services, and even to share their personal experiences. So this user-generated content is seen by the online community or by other customers as being a lot more credible and authentic. But you need to consider what channels are accessed by your target market. So you don't have to be on all social media channels. Think about the range of different social media opportunities that there are out there, and look for where your target market is going to be. So it goes back to understanding specifically who your target market is and where they consume media, in particular social media. Now, once you've found who and what that is, make sure that you're providing snackable content on social. And what that means is small bits of information that perhaps lead back to blogs on your website or more information, but you don't want to get into telling the full story on social. Social media is generally a place where people can go to escape. So you want to keep that information light and get that engagement. So snackable content with a visual, and I've got on your screen there, a visual language is really important. That visual language being images, videos, that kind of thing, does make it a lot more easy to digest, a lot more snackable. Now, engagement is absolutely what we're looking for here. We don't just want likes, we don't just want views, you want comments, you want shares, and you want two-way engagement. You have to build that relationship with your customers in a social media sense. A key thing here is if you're drafting posts and scheduling them, let's say on Facebook, for example, you're scheduling them out, make sure that you're there to respond when that post goes live. I see it all the time where a brand will put a post out, and then people go on, tell me more, I want more information, and they'll sort of reach out, but there's nobody there talking to them. So make sure that you are actually, if you're talking to people, you're there to talk back when they start asking questions. And do keep in mind that social media sends signals to search engines like Google. So the more engagement you have in a social sense, the better it is for your SEO. So all of these likes, comments, shares, and this genuine conversation and engagement that you're getting in a social sense is actually improving your search engine optimization as well. So it's improving how well you will rank. So that's really important. Have a look if you've got any membership organizations or industry bodies that you're a part of, and see if you can engage with them on social. So if you're telling a story, or if you're, you know, posting pics that are relevant to whatever your business is or your industry is, make sure that you're there engaging with those industry bodies and membership organizations as well. And always keep in mind that social media in particular, but we did say this about websites, look at how your content looks on mobile first, and then worry about what it looks like on desktop later. So as you know, social media is very much mobile. There's some people that will access it on desktop, but the majority will be mobile. So have a look at your content and make sure that it is really displaying well in a mobile sense as a first point. So that's a very brief touch on social. As you know, from an online perspective, you can also advertise on social media. You can be extremely targeted. In this, I did mention the Facebook Pixel, which is some remarketing style advertising that you can do on Facebook, but there is a range of different advertising that you can do. So please reach out if you want more information on that. Right, finally, we're going to talk about email marketing. Now, email marketing is a great way to connect with your customers. There's a range of software that you can access for really cost-effective email marketing. Now, with your email marketing, personalization is absolutely key. You have to get personal with people. And when I say personal, you have to know and really truly build a database so that you know who these people are, perhaps what their past purchases are, obviously where they subscribe to your database and how they've come to be connected with you. If they're a past customer, you'll know their purchase cycle, their products, that kind of thing. So be as personalized and give them information that is relevant to what they actually want to see and what they've purchased in the past, or why they've connected with you. Also remember that promotions aren't everything, particularly, and this goes for social media, obviously, as well as email marketing. People want information from you. They might want tips and hints or useful content. And this audience will really respond to that and click through to get more. You might have blog posts about different things that are relevant to them. And then you can do a little bit of promotion as well. So as long as you've got like that 80-20 rule, where 80% of the time you are providing something back to them and giving them something that is informational or useful to them, and 20% of the time you're promoting. Obviously, segmentation is going to give you the very best results. You have to know your audience, like I said, and only send them information that appeals to them. And this could be based on their demographics and, you know, their geographic location, where they're based. It could be based on past purchases, but the more information and data you have on these people in your database, the easier you will find it to segment them. Now, if you've got a database, so let's say you capture people's email addresses at the time that they purchase something from you, you then put that into email marketing software and you send a big newsletter blast out and it goes to 5,000 people and tons of people unsubscribe. Don't worry about that. Unsubscribes are good in the sense that you don't want people that aren't engaged with your brand. They're of no value to you whatsoever. So if they're going to just delete every email that you send them and never unsubscribe, they're not valuable to you. If they unsubscribe, that's fine. At least you know who you're dealing with. So don't get disheartened by that. Now, some people will use prize giveaways and campaigns like that to build an email marketing database. In my opinion, this isn't successful in the sense that you get a whole heap of people following you or providing you their email address when all they wanted was a prize. They're not truly connected to your business. So just as unsubscribes can be a good thing, I think size is less important than engagement. So go for quality over quantity in terms of who's connecting with you. Now, when you get to the point of sending something out, the from name is really important. People have to know who it's coming from. So let's say I've got a personal MailChimp account, just as an example, I wouldn't put it from Kristy Bailey. I would put it from Business Station, because you guys by now probably forgotten my name. In a week's time, definitely forgotten it. In a month's time, who on earth is Kristy Bailey? So absolutely put it from the business that you're operating from, or how the person has come to be subscribing with you, so that they know how you're connected and don't think that it's spam. And equally as important is the subject line. You're not going to get people open your email unless that subject line has enough information. So you wouldn't put, for example, Business Station monthly newsletter. That's not interesting. That sounds like you're going to tell me a whole heap of boring stuff. So you would put something a little bit more engaging, perhaps a little bit of what's in your content and that kind of thing, that to really get people to open. Once they open, you're then going to look at what they do. You're going to measure clicks and, you know, links that they've clicked and that kind of thing. So you can actively see what people do in and around your email if you're using professional email marketing software. So keep that in mind. Again, we have some great webinars on email marketing. So that's it from me. A final thought is just to keep in mind that everything that happens in a digital sense can be measured. So make sure that you're tracking all results with your own monthly reporting. So you'll have stats and analytics from Google Analytics, for example. You'll have some social media stats. You'll have your own email marketing software. You'll have your own sales and your advertising spend. Try and get a good spreadsheet or other platform, somewhere that you can bring all of that statistical information together and manage it and monitor it month on month. I think that would be really helpful. Now, I have touched on a few times that we've got a range of different workshops and webinars on all of the topics that I've discussed today. You can also get some personalized business mentorship as part of this federal government program that you have joined the webinar today as a result of. So keep that in mind. Now, you'll get, for $44, you'll get 3 individual one-on-one appointments with a digital advisor. And we have a range of different specialists, plus you'll get access to more workshops and webinars. So if you're not already signed up for the program, I would highly encourage it. Just a couple of little eligibility requirements. You have to have an ABN and be based in WA, Queensland or NT. For our program, you have to be running a business that is for profit, so not a not-for-profit, and you have to employ fewer than 20 full-time staff. So a few little requirements there. But I hope that you've got something from today. Sorry about the slides disappearing. I have no idea what happened there, but I'll have a look into the technical side of things my end. It's been great to have you guys online today. Like I said, you will get a recording of today. So I am going to hang on. If you've got any questions, please drop them in the chat or just ask them by unmuting yourself. But thanks again, and good luck with your digital marketing.
Thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Pamela.
Bye.